Hello and welcome to my presentation on Humanistic Theory in Education. I chose to do this style for the project because I wanted to research the different theories. I'm familiar with some, but I wanted to look more into it. And the easy thing for me been to, could have been was to interview different teachers, since I am already a teacher and I have access to a few different teachers, but I also wanted to do the research myself and see which theories actually do line up with my own personal beliefs in education. So I really enjoyed doing this project and doing the research myself. In humanistic psychology, most existential humanistic approaches believe that there is an inborn tendency for individuals to fulfill their potential if they are afforded an environment conducive to growth. Such an environment generally includes empathy and a caring, non-judgmental attitude. So I feel like the teacher in this situation is creating a environment in their classroom that is emotionally safe for the student, and there is a community feel in the room where there's both student and teacher are sharing equal parts in the learning process. The most notable leaders in humanistic psychology and humanistic theory in general are Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Abraham Maslow saw human beings' needs arranged like a ladder, with the most basic needs at the bottom, and the top is self-actualizing needs, or the need to fulfill oneself. And then Carl Rogers, who worked with Abraham Maslow, um, focused on person-centered therapy, learner-centered teaching, cross-cultural relations, and Rogerian rhetorical approach. So Maslow believed in this ladder. I can't say hierarchy very well, so I'm just going to keep on using ladder. So Maslow believed in this ladder of needs that each person or child needed to meet, and this is totally applicable in the classroom too. I was actually first introduced to this pyramid or this ladder when got my first job in an after-school program, and during the training, our trainer presented this pyramid to us, and she was trying to explain to us maybe different behaviors that we might see and why these behaviors are happening. So at the very bottom, you have your physiological needs such as food, water, warmth, and rest. And if a child is not getting proper nutrition, if a child doesn't have basic needs like, maybe water, they're not getting their full night's rest, and maybe they, not proper shelter or proper heating in their home, and those types of things, then they are not going to reach that next level that goes into esteem and belongingness and loving. If they don't have those things at the bottom level, they're not going to achieve the very top of the self-actualization. So this pyramid is looking at the whole person, or in the case of education, the whole child. And I've worked with an array of different children in different environments, from summer camps to after-school programs, and now in the classroom. And I've worked with different demographics, different socioeconomic statuses, and this essentially has applied to all of them. When I was working in lower socioeconomic communities, some of the needs that weren't being met were the ones at the bottom, like the physiological needs. Maybe they weren't getting proper nutrition, which we were providing in our program. The reason that we were providing snack, and it was a hefty snack with, it was a starch, fruit or vegetable, dairy, as well as just kind of like a little treat, like a cookie or something. But since they might not be getting these things at home, we provided these in our program. And we were told by the trainer that this might be one of the few meals that they have during the day, so they wanted it to be substantial. They might not be getting proper rest in the after-school programs, because we did have kids that would show up at 6 a.m. and they wouldn't leave till 6 p.m. And that was just because their parents were working and their parents had to get to work, so they had to drop their kid off at 6 and they couldn't pick them up till 6. And then, they're going through our morning program, and then they have to go through a whole school day, and then they're going through our after-school program. So they're tired, just like any adult would be after they're working all day long. Um, they're going to be tired. So they might be a little cranky in the afternoon, and we just needed to accept that and roll with it. I've seen this second tier, or the second step in the ladder, the psychological needs with the esteem needs, belongingness, and love needs in almost every environment I've ever worked in. Um, if a kid is not doesn't have friends, or they're getting bullied, or maybe their relationships aren't strong at home, they're not going to have that feeling of belongingness and love. And the trainer told us that we were there to help kind of create that for the kids in our program. And that's what we were there for. We might be the only positive adult role model in their life, and that's what we were providing. Um, in my camp atmosphere, I volunteer at a camp for children affected by cancer, whether they're the sibling, they're the actual cancer patient / survivor, or they're the child of a cancer patient. Their esteem needs might not be being met. They might not feel like they belong, or there might, maybe the sibling is not getting all the love that they feel like they need, that they're not getting all of it from their family. And by not having those needs met, maybe at home or wherever it may be in their school environment, they're not reaching that upper tier of the self-fulfillment and the self-actualization, where they achieve one's full potential, including creative activities. And then circling it all back to the classroom, if our students are not getting proper rest at night, if they're not getting proper nutrition, if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel that sense of belongingness either in the classroom or at home, and they're bringing that into the classroom now, they're not getting their esteem needs, then they're not getting to the top of achieving their full potential in the classroom. So we as teachers, we can help try to facilitate those things, or just try to help navigate through those other needs to help them get to their full potential. Okay, so moving on from the pyramid, we have early humanism here. During the Renaissance, humanism played a major role in education. Humanists believed that human beings could be dramatically changed by education. The humanists believed that it was important to transcend to the afterlife with a perfect mind and body, which could be attained with education. And education during the Renaissance was mainly composed of ancient literature and history, and it was thought that the classics provided a moral instruction and intensive understanding of human behavior. I am not going to claim to be an expert on Renaissance art. I am not at all. This art piece just happened to pop up during my research, and it is from Andrea Mantegna, The Triumph of the Virtues, and it was just a depiction of what humanism represented during the Renaissance. So we have gone over humanistic philosophy, humanistic psychology, and I did talk a little bit about how humanism can apply to the classroom, but this is specifically what humanistic learning theory is in education. And it is the essence of humanistic theory is that people are inherently good as opposed to inherently evil or born a blank slate. When it comes to teaching, humanistic learning theory says that all students are inherently good, and education should focus on rational ways to teach the whole child. And that focus on the whole child goes back to Maslow's hierarchy, or ladder of needs that we saw a few slides back. And finally, humanistic theory in the classroom is student-centered learning. Teaching strategies that are student-centered often have great success in helping students learn and grow better. Learner-centered approaches place the student as the authority in the educational setting, helping ensure that they are the focus of education and are in control of their learning to an extent. My favorite part of this whole blurb was the learner-centered approaches that place the student as the authority in the educational setting, and they're in control of their own learning to an extent. This pertains to, depending on what grade level you're teaching. If you're teaching seniors in high school, you're going to give them a lot more freedom than you would if you're teaching a kindergartner. So for my classroom, I have kindergartners and first graders, and they're kind of just still learning the basics of just being in a classroom. So I'm not going to be giving them full reign, but I am letting them have control to an extent after I teach them and giving, and I give them those steps, and we go through our routines, and then they, after weeks or months or whatever, and they know they have that routine down, then they can take that learning on themselves. And that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Please enjoy my reference list at your leisure.